much for doing my very first podcast. So
Yay,
exciting. You're my first
welcome.
guest.
Thank you. I love it.
And I will tell you what I love about you, because this is all about mindset. And you have such a unique way of looking at things differently than I think most people do. And what I love is that I think, especially in our industry in real estate, we get really caught up in looking at what other people's accomplishments are. And I think
Mm,
you have a really good way of centering your goals and refocusing on, okay, what do I really want?
yeah.
You just, and I think as we get going, I'll share some of the little nuggets that you've shared with me that kind of helped me along. But what I would first like to know is for you to tell us a little bit about who you are and
Okay.
where you're from, and give us a little bit about your background.
Okay. So I was born in Brazil, so I'm a Brazilian. Came to the States when I was around 4. So I grew up in Dallas. Stayed in Dallas till I went off to college. Went to Texas State University in San Marcos, which is like between Austin and San Antonio. And after college, I kind of launched into my dream job, which was in the marine mammal industry. So all I ever wanted to do in my life was work with animals. I started off wanting to be a vet, and then I kind of really, once I saw that there were other options in the animal industry other than just being a vet, it just kind of opened my eyes. And so a lot of people don't really understand that animal training is all psychology, just basic psychology. So I went to school for psychology, behavior modification. And so I got to live my dream for quite a few years, working with seals, sea lions, dolphins, all the fun things, worked all over the country. And then when that job kind of started getting it started, the job didn't get hard, the opportunities I had kept taking me away from my brand new husband at the time. And it just started getting harder and harder to do that. So I made the really hard decision to leave that. And I'll be really honest, that was one of, and is still one of the hardest decisions I've ever made. I miss it every day. I think about it every day.
Mm.
And it took me a long time after I left that world um to figure out like where I belong in the world, really, to figure out what I wanted, because I had a one-track mind my entire life. And that's all I wanted to do. And I did it. And then afterwards, it's like, now what?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and tell me this, because I kind of did a similar, well, I don't really regret leaving teaching, but I can say it because it's part of your identity.
Yeah.
Like it's part of you being in the marine animal world, like that's who you were. So
Yeah.
when you change that, it's hard to switch that identity. Is that kind of how you're feeling? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know who I was other than that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and honestly, if I have to be super honest, I feel like I'm just now figuring out, and that's been 9 years. So for the
Wow.
past 9 years, I feel kind of like floating,
Mm.
doing some things here and there that I like, but, and I'll be honest, I mean, it's when I just recently heard someone say, when you have something in your heart and in your mind that just keeps coming back up, it was put there by God,
Yeah.
and so now my focus is doing what I need to do and other things that I enjoy doing that can also give me the opportunities to be involved in that field, whether it's volunteering or donating in some way financially or something like that.
Mm.
So my goal is to kind of really be sure to be able to contribute to that field in some capacity still,
Yeah.
because it is such a huge part of my life. And but if anyone knows Enneagrams, I'm a 7, which is we're considered kind of like the really unique, like dreamer,
So tell us a
get
little bit
bored
about
really.
that, because some people may not know what that means. So tell us a little bit about
So
what that is and what that,
the
yeah.
Enneagram.
Yeah.
So the Enneagram is a personality test,
Okay.
and you're assigned a number based on the answers that you give in your test. And I took it for the first time in like 2019, I believe, maybe 20. Um, and I swear to God, the second I took it and then I read the description of what a 7 is, I cried. I was like, oh my God, this is me. Like my whole life,
Somebody
I
figured
felt
you
like
out.
just, yeah, I felt like I was just so different. Like there's nobody
Right.
quite like me. I don't
Yeah.
understand. Like, am I just weird? Like I'm this like wanderlust. Like I love to travel. I hate feeling trapped. My number one fear is feeling trapped. And that's exactly a 7.
Yeah.
It's hard for us to commit to things because we get bored very
So
easily.
you
We're
don't like a
multi-passionate.
schedule. Like a schedule for you is kind of like, I mean, within reason, like if you had to go to a 9 to 5, that would be like a death to you.
If I hate, if if it's something that I don't love
Yeah.
doing, right?
Okay.
Because I mean, I can go do something consistently that I like,
Hmm.
but I don't know how long that's going to last. But I have to
Yeah.
love it
Yeah.
because we hear 7s are either all in or they're not in.
That's hard.
Like,
That's so
so my husband, which he told me to say hi to you, by the way.
hard. Yeah.
Sometimes he's like, I'm surprised you're still with me because you just get so like, you just get bored so easily and you jump from thing to thing. And the funny thing is, I think, yes, it's cool to kind of understand your personality a little bit, but when you really start understanding it, it's actually extremely beneficial to your job, to
Hmm.
your relationships, and to share with people, hey, this is who I am. And
Right.
these are the things that you can expect from me. And these are the things that you probably shouldn't put all your chips in on,
Yeah.
because we all have those things. We all have our faults. And, the big thing for me is I get bored and I don't like feeling trapped. I love an escape route. That is,
Yeah.
that is my
So,
personality.
so let me ask you then, how did you get into real estate?
So this is a funny story. So we bought our very first home. We became homeowners for the first time in 2011. So we had moved to Colorado. We had lived all over the country, and I can get into that later. But and we bought our first home in 2020 or 2012, excuse me. And we started renovating it. And this was our first home, first renovation. We were figuring it all out, DIYing everything. My husband had knowledge because he had done construction and stuff before. So I started becoming really interested in a home renovation. Well, years went by. We moved away from Colorado, moved down to South Florida, came back to Colorado. And mind you, kind of what I said before, I was still in this kind of like, what am I going to do with myself? What am I doing with my life? I'm floating. There's nothing that's like fueling my fire, nothing that's filling my tank. And I don't know if it was an ad I saw on social media or what, but I saw something that it was a seminar that was coming to Denver of one of the guys. I don't even remember his name now, whatever it is now, but they have a show on A&E. It's a home flipping show on A&E. And I was like, you know what? This is interesting because we technically flipped 2 of our own homes. We completely gutted, renovated, sold, made money. So we've flipped 2 of our own homes. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go check this out because this is kind of cool. I could get behind flipping houses. And so I'm sitting there and I'm listening to the pitch. It's a seminar. There's always like the next level
Right.
of something to
Right.
join or buy or whatever. And as I'm sitting there, I'm like, holy crap. Yeah, I could get behind this. But why am I going to give you my money
Right.
to help me buy a property when I can just get my license and buy my
Do
own
it myself.
property?
Yeah.
Right. And literally, that's how I got into real estate. So I
I
left
love
that seminar. I called Alex and I'm like, I think I'm going to go get my real estate license. And, um,
it.
and I did. And I
I
did.
love
And
it.
honestly, my, my big thing behind my license is to be an investor. I help all types of clients and I
Mhm.
will absolutely. But my number one goal behind my license is investing in real estate. So,
Okay, so
yeah,
really is a that's awesome. So
yeah,
so with all of that, so knowing all of this about yourself, when do you feel like you truly kind of tapped into this mindset thing? Like, can you pin it back to
yeah.
a time that you were like super like, okay, this is something that I really can get on board with, and wow, this really changed things. Like, can you think of a time that
Yeah. It was very recently, honestly. It
really?
was last year.
Mm,
Yes. So it was after joining Team GoGo.
love that.
I was struggling in real estate because there's a whole backstory, which we can get into later, but I was struggling in real estate. And I scheduled a phone call with GoGo and I told her my concerns, what I was struggling with. And she said, I want you to every morning turn on YouTube and find a Tony Robbins video and listen to it. And I'm like, okay,
Okay. Okay.
sounds good. And I did. And that was just scratching the surface of what the process I've been through and things I've gone through since November, or actually October 1st of 2022. No, 2021, excuse me. And October 1st, 2021 is when I joined EXP, and then talking to GoGo and stuff like that. So that's kind of when I first got into it. I had heard of this guy before, and I hadn't
Yeah.
really, he was a motivational speaker or whatever. Just didn't have an opinion. I didn't know anything about him.
Mhm.
And so I started listening to that. I'm like, oh, I can do this. Wow, this is interesting. Okay. Yeah, this is interesting. And then my personality type, Melissa, is I am a researcher. I research, I dig, I get to the bottom of things. I
Does that
love
go with the
root
7?
cause.
Does that go with, like, the characteristics of the
I
7?
think I think sevens, they like to know. Sevens are all about, what do you feel, what is internal, right?
Mm,
And so for me, the way I process that is I have to get to the root of everything so I can see how it makes me feel. Like, where did
yeah,
this really come from so I
right.
can understand it? I hate surface level shit. Like, I
Yeah,
hate it. I
yeah.
have to get down to like the nitty gritty of where did this come from?
And
And so that's what
have you always been like that? Or do you feel like tapping into the Tony Robbins thing, do you feel like that was the eye
Mm-mm.
opener?
No, I've always, in terms of like research and getting down to the
Mhm.
bottom of things, I've always been like that. I
Yeah.
mean, growing up, when I was like, I'm going to be a trainer, I'm going to be a marine mammal trainer, I have literally notebooks that are this thick
Mhm.
of my own research that I did of just animals and how training works and the biology of these animals and the psychology of these animals that I would just collect and write and read. And I have my own like little encyclopedias of things.
Yeah.
I was a huge Elvis fan growing up. I'm still an Elvis fan. And one of those things, like when you're a kid, you're like, wow, I'm gonna learn everything about this. So like I learned literally, I'm in walking Elvis Presley encyclopedia to this
That's
day.
so funny.
I came this close to getting my license to be a certified nutritionist a few years
Mhm.
ago. And the same thing, root cause of physical of health issues, like let's get down to that. Let's get down to what our food quality is really like. Why is our health just continuously going downhill? And so I've always just been like a researcher.
Yeah.
So in the mindset thing, I just kind of started digging and looking for other people that talk about the same thing. And and all this stuff. And so I started listening to Tony. And then I really, really got into Pitbull. And everyone knows well, not everyone, but people who know me know
We
I'm a
do
huge
know.
Pitbull. Everyone knows. And the thing for me is I love music. I love the beat. I love Latin music. It's very much who I am. But if you actually listen to his music, yes, it's great club music, but there's also extremely inspirational words in his music because he and Tony are very good friends.
Yeah.
He grew up listening to Tony and then got to become famous and meet Tony. And so I really started listening to this music. And then I just started reading books like Think and Grow Rich, and I started listening to Dean Graziosi. And so it's been a progressive thing for me, and it's something that just sits well with me. It's not something that makes me scratch my head and go, is this for real?
Hmm.
For me, it's just something that I know it is. And just recently I've really kind of started tapping into more of the I'm not going to say religious, but spiritual side of myself.
Right.
Um, and the more I read, the more I really listen. The Secret, right? Like the book, the
Right.
movie, all that stuff, The Secret, Law of Attraction, all that stuff. It all comes from the Bible. And so I'm really getting into that. I'm feeling that The Secret really is the secret. I mean, it's law of
Hmm.
attraction, ask and you shall receive. And so now I've gotten like, that's how deep I'm digging in this, but it's really eye-opening. And we're all manifesting every single day, whether you believe it or not.
Hmm.
We're all doing it. It is the law of attraction. It's energy back and forth. And so, yeah, that's kind of a really long-winded answer to your
No,
question.
I love it. No, because I think it's interesting. And I think because a lot of people, at least the people I know, and even for myself, you're just kind of going along. And I'm like I've always had like kind of a Pollyanna attitude. I've always been a
Mhm.
positive thinker, but I think it's interesting that we both have this somewhat same starting point of the really diving into the mindset, like really diving in and paying attention to it. It's funny that go-go was your kind of your
Yeah,
gateway.
yeah, yeah, she
I
was. Yeah,
love
that's what
that.
she said. She's listening to Tony every morning. I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, sounds good to
And so
me.
what changes do you feel like, what are some shifts in your thinking? Like
Mm.
what are some shifts in your thinking that you've noticed pre Tony and now after listening to Tony?
Fear is a
Okay.
big one. So, as you go through life, you're nervous. Is this
Hmm.
going to work out? Is this going to be okay? Oh God, I hope I get this. Like I feel like we're all kind of living in this world of hope
Hmm.
and hoping it's okay, hoping that it works out, hoping shit doesn't burn down. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
that's just really how I feel like most people go through life. Sometimes you ask people, hey, how's it going? Oh, good, better than dead, things like
That's
that.
a great
And
way to live.
right. And it's just,
Yeah.
not that I was ever that extreme, but I there was always a little underlying fear.
Hmm.
But now I am 100 million% confident that everything will work. And
Yeah.
I know, and I can see in my own life that um, the bad times are just preparing you for the good times. I heard a sermon the other day, and I've read it in books that basically say, and even Tony says this, you have to get through winter to get to
Hmm.
spring. Nothing just exists in a vacuum. It just
Right.
doesn't, that's not how it works. You have to go through the mud to get to the beautiful parts. You have to walk through the rain to get to the beautiful sunny fields of flowers that are blooming in the spring. And so now that I know that that is real, now that I know that everything will be okay. And if it hurts right now, everything is temporary and
Yeah.
it is your decision how you manage it. Do you want to fester in the hurt? Do you want to fester in the negativity? Do you want to attract more of that negative energy? Or do you say, okay, I acknowledge what is happening. Now let me decide how we're going to move forward, knowing
Yeah.
that there will be a great outcome in the end.
Wow. And you know, it's interesting as you say that, how empowering that is. Like it shifts your thinking from being a victim and
Mhm.
shifts you to having control over something. Where before, if you're just kind of rolling with, oh, this is bad, this is bad. So I love the way you say that, that, you know, it's if you know how things
You
are
just
going to
know.
turn out and you
Yeah.
focus on those
It
things.
doesn't make it as scary anymore.
Well, and if you're, and I have to say, I'm unfortunately a little bit of a control freak. So knowing that I can control it for the good makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how I've started living my life. It's like, okay, this sucks right now.
Now.
It'll suck forever. I'm
Yeah.
going to get through this and I'm going to work really fucking hard to get through this because I hate the way this feels right now.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like I hate that's another thing about a 7, my Enneagram number is that here, hold on, let me turn my camera back on
Yeah.
because of course
It have her.
that's another thing about 7s is that we hate feeling pain.
Mm,
And I can describe that to you in physical pain. I'm I have a very low pain tolerance for physical pain. And I also hate mental pain, emotional pain. I hate it. So I'm going to do whatever I can to get away from it.
and
Now,
what do
listen,
well, and let
I'm
me
not going to
ask
say
you,
that's always good, you
yeah.
know?
Well, and let me ask you, so when you say that you have a low tolerance for mental pain, did you notice that after you started kind of listening to Tony Robbins videos and kind of recognizing some of that, was there a bit of a shift of
Um,
how to handle that? Or like was there some relief that you felt or any type of tips that you can take away that was beneficial from that?
I don't know if I don't know. I think I just really realized it or noticed it recently when I've kind of started diving into the topic of pain.
Hmm.
Because I hate, I just, like I said, I hate feeling pain, mental, physical. And so I've always been like that. Even as a kid, um, I just, I would rather, and this is not good. I do not condone this, but I would rather swallow my emotions sometimes and just go on to something else than
Right.
to deal with it sometimes. Because I guess I'm now in the mindset of I'm not going to waste my time dealing with this. But like I said, that's not always good. Sometimes you got to
Hmm.
deal with something before you just sweep it under the rug and move on. I
Right.
understand that. And that's something that I know I need to work on. But I also don't want to give it a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Like I want to acknowledge my pain and my discomfort, but I also want to say, okay, I acknowledge it. Let me just move on. Like let's find a way to move forward, I
Well,
guess. I don't know.
and I think one of the things that is helpful is using that pain for a positive. You know, that I
Mhm.
think it's not ignoring it, but shifting it into a sense of like, okay, how can I use this as a positive thing instead of a negative thing? Just like when we were talking about earlier, and tell me if this is not something you want to touch on, but you know, with your dad recently passing away, which I'm so sorry, you know, that was, you know, something that you're having to deal with right now, and telling your mom, you know, you can either look at the beauty of it, not saying don't be sad and don't feel those feelings, but
Yeah,
taking away from it something different, like using those feelings for the positive.
right. Yeah, I think that's super important. I've been telling her, think of the good times, but also I think it's important to acknowledge where you are currently in life.
Mhm.
Right now, what's in front of you right now? You may be hurting, you may be overwhelmed, you may feel like everything is collapsing around you, but where focus goes, energy flows,
Yeah.
right? There are beautiful things happening right in front of you.
Yeah.
And don't overlook those, because just like you say when you're sad, oh my God, life is so short and you
Mhm.
just never know. Well, you can also say that in the beautiful things too. God, life is so short. Let's acknowledge the beautiful things.
Mhm.
Let's really put our energy toward that. And that's really how I've been managing and handling this season in life.
Mhm.
Um, is I know what I can and can't change. And so I'm going to focus on what I can change, because it is a waste of my time to try to focus on things that I have zero control over. I can't bring my dad back. I can't make my mom less sad right now, but what I can do is highlight the great things that are happening in life right
Yeah.
now.
And
So,
I have to say, you're really good at that. And I want to just bring up I was having a really bad day, and it seemed like nothing was working out. And that's one of my little stories that I have to work on. But you said, and you just, it was a simple little reel or a story that you put on one day, and you were like, you were having a bad day too. But you said something, and I will not, like, this is my go-to, like, this is what pulls me out of a bad day, is you said, what did work out for me today, that I really, and it's funny, we take this for granted. We take for granted that when we go to bed at night, we take for granted that when we go to sleep, we just assume we know we're going to wake up. And you
yeah,
said, you were like, I mean, it was just so like, and I'm waiting for this, like, because you're building it up, like, what happened? What
yeah,
happened that I knew for sure was absolutely going to happen? I'm like, what? Like, what is this magic thing that happened? And
yeah,
you're like, I woke up. And I
yeah,
mean, the beauty in that being so simple, but so absolutely um just profound,
yeah.
is definitely so. Like, what was your epiphany when you came with that thought? Because that's not something I think most people think of when they're having a bad day. I don't think they think, oh, thank goodness I'm still alive.
I think that came from a lot of um, just listening to a lot of people talk about gratitude.
Mm,
Because we tend to, we so take advantage of the fact that we're breathing right now,
it's
or even the
amazing.
fact that I can see you.
Yes.
We don't even like think about vision. Unless you're blind, you do not think about your vision.
Yeah.
You don't think about that you're breathing and that you can stand up and walk your ass to the kitchen if you want
Right.
to. Like, people don't think about that. And for me, it's like, holy crap, even if everything is falling apart around you and you can't really find something, just because, we all get in these ruts, right?
Mhm.
Like, I'm not grateful for anything right now. Everything's shit right now. Well,
Right.
guess what? Guess what? You have legs that you can go to the toilet and sit down and poop.
Yes.
Okay. Like, be grateful for that.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
like? There's so
And
many
there are
things
some people that can't, I
that
mean, there are some
cannot.
people that can't get up and go to the bathroom, like, so and I love that, focusing on literally when you're in those places, is dialing it back to the simplest thing of waking up, walking to the bathroom and pooping, I mean,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
focusing on that gratitude. That
Yeah.
is just, and it is definitely my, when things are not going the way I want them, I'm like, you know what? You woke up this morning. And I remember that. So one thing I do remember, like, as I'm going to bed and, you go through your day, is I think, okay, you woke up today. So I really appreciated that. That was just such a monumental comment that seems so simple, but it's so
Oh,
huge.
well, good. I'm glad
Yeah.
it kind of shook something up in you,
Yeah.
because yeah, we're also worried about all these material things around
Mhm.
us and how we look and what someone's going to say or think, or, oh my God, my day didn't go as my to-do list,
Right.
wrote it out to be, or whatever.
Yeah.
There's so much more to life. There's
Yeah.
so much more to life than that. So,
And
yeah.
unfortunately, I mean, and I don't know if this is speaks for you, but I feel like, when we've lost people in our family or in our lives very unexpectedly, it really does jolt you into that place of, appreciating those small things.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
really, the big deal things are really not a big deal.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It puts everything into perspective.
Hmm.
Everything.
Yeah.
When my husband left for work, he went to go meet some contractors this morning, and it's on a Sunday. And
Mm.
I wish we were here because we have our Sunday routine, but you know what? Thank God. Thank God that we have clients that
Hmm.
continue to call and want us to work on their homes. Thank God that he made it to the job site safely.
Right.
There's so many things. And
Hmm.
honestly, sometimes the little things just kind of, they're almost like guilty pleasures. Like, oh my God, I had a Sunday morning kind of quiet. You know what I mean? I got to
Right.
catch up on some things, do a couple things that I needed to do, like almost like little guilty pleasures, but like just there's just so many things we take advantage of.
And I think we need to be I mean, I think it's very easily, and we talk about this all the time about surrounding yourself by people that are going to help you focus on those things, because it's very easy to get into those ruts of, you know, poor pitiful me. And, you can surround yourself that people that just even, enhance that even more. But surrounding yourself by people that will remind you of that it really is the small things that we can be grateful for.
Exactly. And I don't, I can share it with you. I don't even know what it's exactly from, but I saw this little clip of an old Mickey Mouse cartoon. And he's walking down the street and he's like walking like this and he's whistling. And for some reason, when I feel that things are starting, like maybe people are rude, or maybe I am worried about what someone's going to say or think about what I'm doing, I picture that little clip of Mickey Mouse walking down the street, just strutting,
Yeah.
head, chin up, whistling. And I'm like, man, that is who I want to be today.
Yeah.
That's who I want to be today.
Yeah.
Because I'll be damned if I'm going to let anybody steal my joy.
I love that. And it's so funny. There was someone posted just a little clip, and it was saying, and I forget the exact numbers. I should probably look it up because I don't know if most people know how many seconds are in a day, but it was so good. I'm definitely going to share it. Um I have to find it because it was a good one, right on your point of, you know, so it said, imagine if you had $86,000 for $86,400 in an account and someone stole $10 from you. Would
Mm,
you be upset and throw all the remaining $86,390 away? Of
yeah.
course you wouldn't. You would
Right.
just, like hope that you get the $10 back and you would just move on and live your life, right?
Right.
Well, the thing is, so we have 86,400 seconds in a day. So don't let someone's negativity 10 seconds ruin the remaining 86,390.
I love
And
that.
I just, it's so true. And
Love that.
yeah, just those little nuggets that we get, but it's to that
Yeah.
point. Like, I'm not going to let people
Yeah.
ruin my day.
I used to be a big people pleaser.
Me
Big,
too.
like
Yep.
big,
Yep.
big, like that. I was always
Hmm.
worried about, was
What
I
are they
doing
going
the
to
right
think?
thing? What are they going to say? What are they going to think? Is the dinner table set perfectly?
It's exhausting.
Like, do I have enough ornaments on the Christmas tree for when
Yeah.
these people come over? Does
Yep.
this look like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And now, like, once I realized kind of like that doesn't matter. None of it matters.
Mm-mm.
None of it matters. There was such this, this weight that was just lifted off my shoulders. I'm like, nobody cares. And if they
No, they
do,
don't. They're thinking
I
more
don't
about
care.
themselves. And
You know?
it's like they're more focused on themselves and worried about what other people are
Right.
thinking about them.
Right. And if they're going to
Exactly.
come over and say something about my
Yes.
home or the way I'm
Right.
dressed,
They're not my people.
okay. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Like, all right. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't like what you're wearing, but I mean, how is that gonna, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't
That's a
matter.
hard place to get to, though. What do you think gave you your epiphany of getting to that place? Because if you're a perfectionist, and I definitely am guilty of, and I have to remind myself, it's that mindset thing. I have to, like, I know we brought up go-go a few times, but I was getting ready to post something the other day and I asked my husband, do you think I should put this on there? And he goes, what would go-go do? Would she think about it again? I'm like, oh, hell no. She would
Yeah.
just do it. So,
Yeah.
you need those little reminders. What was your epiphany of when you finally realized you were people pleasing and you could be aware of it? Because I don't even know if people know that they're aware of it, but I think they wear it as a badge of honor. I know I did. Like, I know
Mm.
I'm a people pleaser and, a perfectionist, and I thought that was such a good thing.
Yeah.
So did you have anything, a shining
Yeah.
moment that you can go back to?
Yeah. I turned 40.
I've heard that so many times.
Yeah.
Wait till
That
you're
was
50.
literally it. It's plain and simple. I turned 40 and I'm like, oh shit, I'm 40.
Yeah. Yep.
I have, let's just say another 40 years,
Yeah.
40, whatever, maybe 60 years left.
Yes.
And I'm like, holy shit, what have I done? I've spent, listen, let's be really honest. Let's get down dirty here. I I did a lot before I got into real estate. My social media was really all DIY, home renovation, home decor stuff. Do you know
Right.
how much freaking money I spent to keep up with the home decor DIY niche on social
Wow.
media?
No, I can't even imagine.
Okay, no. That was when I turned 40 and I started looking at some things and I'm like, what the actual, because
Yeah.
that is disgusting. I wasn't, yes, beautiful things in your home are amazing to have, but you need to get them because you love them,
Right.
because you want them,
Yeah.
not because, and that goes into a whole other topic of
Oh, absolutely.
trends and keeping up with trends, keeping up with the Joneses. That's a whole other thing that I'm done. I've tapped out. I don't care anymore.
Good for you.
Um, so, when you realize, oh my God, why am I doing this? I'm doing
Yeah.
this to get a little heart on something. I'm
Hmm.
doing this so someone can go, oh my God, wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's really pretty. You know what I mean? Like, I don't
Yeah.
care anymore. And that's also why I don't like on social media trends. Like this morning, I opened up Instagram and there's a trending audio going around. And I saw like freaking 10 videos of the same freaking audio.
Right.
I'm sorry, but
It's not trending.
none of your videos are sticking in my head.
Yeah.
None of them.
Because they're all the same.
They're all the same. I
Yeah.
don't care. I don't care. It does
So,
not, I don't know who you are. I don't know anything. All I know is like, oh, here's that song again. And it's just
right.
like,
The song sticks into my head, but not the
yeah, the
actual.
song,
Yeah.
nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what would you tell someone who's not 40? Because
Mm,
I remember hearing that all the way through. Like, I just remember my older aunts and aunts, not so much uncles, but my aunts would say, "Oh,
yeah.
just wait till you're 40. You're not going to care." I'm like, "But I don't want to wait till I'm 40. Now I'm 50. I'm like, what a bunch of wasted time I had of worrying about all this, what people thought." What would you tell someone younger than you so they can get the 40 wisdom without going, or maybe you can't? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I would say focus on the things you love.
Mhm.
Because I think I would start with saying, let's play a game. Imagine all of this is gone. The social media is gone. You move. You don't have any of your same friends circle. You don't, everything is gone and it's just you. What would you have in your house? What would you do on your free time? Focus on the things that you love. Dig
Mhm.
down deep because at the end of the day, everyone's going to tell you, oh, friends are going to come and go. And everyone says that. Everyone says that. But at the end of the day, you have to think about what do you love?
Yeah,
Are you getting this Gucci belt because you love it? Or are you getting it because all these people are wearing it and you think you're going to feel the status if you're
right.
wearing it?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what do you love? Let's just go back to, and that goes back to me being a 7. What do you love? It's all about love, passion,
Right, right,
and, like follow your heart, follow your dreams,
yeah,
and screw everyone else.
right. Well, and it's interesting because I think one of the things that I just completely blew my mind is, are you your thoughts? or are you your thoughts about your thoughts? And when I heard that, like, because you have those thoughts in your head,
Mhm.
and but and we I think my younger self, I thought that's who I was. But then when you
Mhm.
start to realize that you aren't really those thoughts, it's the person thinking about those thoughts of who you
Mhm.
really are. It's
Mhm.
kind of mind-boggling when you think about it that deep,
Yeah, I'm trying to process that right now,
right?
actually. Yeah.
It's pretty because you have those voices that you we think are us, and then there's
Mhm.
that little voice that's in the back of your head that's actually thinking about that voice.
Well, that goes
And
back into what you said about identity,
yeah, right.
and that's something that I've actually, because so with me, I am the queen of looking at both sides of the coin.
Mm.
When I'm having an argument, sometimes I actually listen to myself and I can argue with myself against my argument.
Right,
Because I'm just really good at seeing both sides. I'm not blind to my um whatever you want to call it, my if I'm wrong, or I don't
right,
even know how to say
right.
it, right? Like I can see, okay, you're being ridiculous or whatever. So I think that goes back to when we're talking about personality tests, identity of yourself. I have to be careful because I know so much of who I am based on these personality tests that have made me realize my strengths and my weaknesses. But what I don't want is to just say, well, that's just who I am.
Right, right.
That's just who I am.
Yeah.
That's what the test said. That's just who I am.
Well,
And
that
that
goes
leaves
to the
zero room
mindset
for
stuff.
growth.
Yes.
Right. That leaves
Yep.
zero room for growth. And once again, here you are. As much as a seven hates feeling trapped, it's
Hmm.
very easy to trap myself in, oh, well, I'm a seven.
Yeah.
That's just what I
Right.
do. That's what we do. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And so I think people need to be very careful with this identity that they put on themselves, who
Hmm.
they are, what they
Yeah.
do, what they don't do, what they think about. Um, because we're all evolving creatures. We're all supposed to, if you're not growing, you're dying, just like a
Yep.
plant. Not
Yep.
growing, you're dying.
So
So if you
true.
box yourself in, um, you're not going to get very far.
Hmm.
You're just not. It's
Right.
not, you're just, you're only going to get, you're going to get to a limit and, oh,
And
well, I don't
why
know.
do you, and just out of curiosity, I think, why do you think most people choose not to grow? I mean, do you think it's scary? Maybe it's
Fear of
change.
failure is right. I
Yeah.
think fear of failure is like the number one thing in this world.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think, going back to the pit bull thing, I love this little, he's super into mindset and positive thinking and encouragement. And I love something that he said one day, and it's so simple. And I think about it all the time. He's like, when you're a baby and you're learning how to walk, and Johnny gets up and Johnny takes his first few steps, and everyone's like, yeah, good job. And then he falls, and I'm like, no, 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 get back up,
Yeah.
get back up. You got this. Let's go. You know, and then as you get older, that positive reinforcement disappears.
Hmm.
As you get older, everyone becomes skeptical. As you get older, people don't want you to fail. They don't want you
Right.
to fail, right? Some people do, but most people are afraid
Right.
for you, right? Most
Yeah.
people are afraid for you, and so they throw all this at you, like, oh God, do you think that's okay? Oh
Mm.
God, do you think that's gonna work? Ooh, I hope you don't lose all your money. Ooh, ooh, that's kind of scary. You're gonna move across the country. Like, what are you gonna do about a job? Well, how about your friends, your family? Like, we're instilling all this fear. We just
Mm.
stop telling Johnny to get back up and keep going.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it's like, oh, you can't do that. Oh God, don't try that. That's too scary. That's too risky.
Yeah.
Too risky. Scary. Don't do that.
So you have
What
to
if
tell
Johnny
your,
would have never walked?
yeah,
Johnny would have never walked.
right.
Johnny would have
So
been
being
10
your
minutes
own
from,
cheerleader and cheering yourself on and getting in, and it's okay to make a mistake.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
So,
that's a thing I don't understand about society is like, why is it instilled in us? And granted, I think it goes back to survival, right?
mhm,
You've got to make sure you're
yeah,
surviving. You got to outrun
right.
that saber-toothed tiger or
Yeah,
whatever. But there's so many things that are so not scary this day and age that we attach fear to.
right.
Um, that's just unnecessary.
Yeah.
Alex and I have moved across the country. so many times.
And look,
Huh?
and look, you're here. Look
And
at, I
look
mean,
at
you're
good.
thriving.
And
You're
so
good.
many people are like, oh my
Yeah.
God, how do you do that? Like, ooh, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And if I were to let any of those fears and hesitations seep into me, I would have never gone anywhere. I would have never done anything. I would have been like, and I don't, that's not to say that's not, listen, you don't have to move across the country to be brave and to whatever, because
Mhm.
there's obviously things I've still been afraid of.
Right.
But I think it's just fear. I think people have this fear of failure that they just can't get past. It's the
Hmm.
what ifs. Oh
Yeah.
my God, well, what if this happens?
Yeah.
You know,
And I think
I
changing that
saw,
mindset of what if it does? What if it does happen?
right, yeah,
Shifting
I
that.
just saw a reel the other day that the audio said, what's the worst, no, what's the best advice you've ever gotten? And no, I'm sorry. It started off with what's the worst advice you've ever gotten? And it said something like, oh shoot, now I'm gonna ruin it because I can't remember.
I'm so bad at
Anyway,
yeah.
the punchline was the worst advice they've ever gotten is to be realistic.
Mm, yep.
And when you think about that, what does that even mean? What is realistic? It's realistic to who?
Yeah.
Whose reality am I supposed to be living in? Yours or mine?
Right. No, that's a very good point. Yep. Yeah.
So
Well, and
that was
and to bring, so there you're leading me to the very next thing that that you're really good at, and I am so thankful for, is that, especially in, I feel like in the real estate industry, we were saying it's very easy to look and see what other people are doing in their other lanes and thinking, oh my gosh, I need to be doing that, or oh my gosh, look at what they're doing, I'm doing that. And I think the one thing that you do really well is you've taught me how to go back and say, okay, but that's their lane and that's where they're going. It's not where your lane and that's not where you're going. So your story is going to look very different.
yeah.
So I think it's to that whole point of, so that is that a new thought process for you of, because I
Oh
know,
yeah.
it's easy to get it's easy to get very excited about doing growing your business and doing these things, and
Mhm.
you can it can get away from you, and then you
Yeah.
got to realize, okay, well, maybe that's not what I want to do.
Right. I think we're in the age of shiny object syndrome,
Mm,
and we're in the age of overstimulation. And I think it's a detriment to
mm,
society, if I'm being completely honest. There's way too much available. Okay, hold on. I don't want that to be misconstrued. There's so much coming at us that we don't have the time or the ability to let it soak in before the
mm,
next thing is coming at us.
right.
So the shiny object syndrome of, oh my God, I'm going to try this. I'm going to do this. Oh, they were really successful doing this. I'm going to go do that. At the end of the day, you could do the same thing they're doing all day long, but you're not going to get the same results. You're just
Right.
not. You're not the same person.
Mm-hmm.
You're not the same person. You don't have the same home life. You're not married to the same person. You were not raised the same way. You don't have the same voice. You don't have the same hair. You don't have the same look. Everything contributes to success. Everything. And that's something that has recently really been playing over and over in my head. Life is a cake. And if you do not have all the ingredients in line for this cake, it's not going to be a good cake. It's just not.
Yeah.
It's not going to be good. And life is the same thing. We all tend to be hyper focused on a specific area of our lives. Oh my God, I want to lose weight. Okay, I'm going to lose weight. I'm so unhappy with myself because I'm overweight. Okay, I'm going to lose weight.
And
Well,
then I'm
do
going
you
to be
like your job?
happy. Right.
Do you like your job?
Yeah.
How's your relationship? You know,
Yeah.
how, like, what are these other ingredients in your life that you're completely ignoring because you think the cure all is only one ingredient in your
Right.
cake? And so that's something I've really been thinking a lot about lately, because I'm just really realizing that everyone talks about niche. What is your niche? Well, yes, I understand. Like if you're selling a product, you can't sell it to the world because then you're going to sell it to nobody. You
Right.
have to have a niche. But you have to think about that as well, because you can be selling a product to a niche, but that doesn't mean your whole life is based off of your niche,
Right.
whether it be your diet, your job, your relationships, right? Like you niche down in your work in marketing, don't niche down and ignore all the other ingredients of your own personal life. Does that
Right.
make sense what I'm
No, it
saying?
does, because then that's something that has been, you see people who are absolutely killing it in their business, but then, there's some other holes there. So I think Tony talks about it like the wheel. And if there's a
Mm,
part of your wheel that's missing, and that's your home, family, your relationships, your fitness, there's parts of that wheel missing, then it's not going to go very
no,
well, for very
no,
long. It
no.
doesn't run very smoothly. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's super important to, um, I don't know, just quit looking at everyone else. Just
Yeah.
quit looking at people, quit
Yeah.
comparing yourself, quit, oh, I need to do what they're going to do. No,
Yeah.
it's not even, it's never going to turn out the same way. Let's focus on
Right.
you. And you asked me a
Yep.
question earlier, and my answer was, what do you love? Let's
Yeah.
go back to what you love.
Yep.
Because if you are spending your days, those seconds that you talked
Mhm.
about, doing something that you don't love, that doesn't
Ugh.
fuel your fire,
Yep.
I don't care whose $1 million idea you tap into.
Yep.
It's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
No.
Yeah.
No, I think that, and that's a great place for us and I think it's just circling it right back to focusing on what we love. And I just my hope is for everyone to be able to do that, because when you've lived a life of doing something that you don't love, and and then when you can see the difference. um
Yeah.
it's a night and day difference. And
Huge.
yeah, yeah.
Huge.
Oh my gosh, this has
Absolutely.
been so wonderful. And
I
I'm
love it.
so excited that you are going to be one of our guest speakers at our
So
Mindset
excited.
It's All in Your Head event coming up on March 2nd. So
Love it.
we'll dive into this a little bit more. I know
Yes.
I didn't want to go too deep, because don't want to steal your thunder for
Yeah.
our speaking engagement.
No, I'm so excited. I
Yeah.
cannot wait. I think it's going to be a blast. I hope I tend to like get on these rants. So I really need to like tailor it down
Yeah,
because
you did
I tend,
fabulous. No, this was great. I really appreciate you sitting down, and I tell you, I will say, like, I'm fascinated to find out. And I think this is I think this should be very optimistic for people that, they haven't even started looking into their mindset, or, they're in a place where, like, well, I could never think like that. Like, that's only for Carolina, like, she's, that
worked for her.
it worked for her.
Yeah.
But that you won't, this is a new mindset for you. This is not something that you were
No.
born with. It's something that you found, changed, shifted, and look at how it's working for you.
Right.
That,
Well,
I mean,
and you're right. And it's so funny because just recently, within a past couple of days, I read and I learn a lot. I've been learning a lot about manifesting and how to manifest things. And it's always like this thing where it's like, okay, I'm learning how to manifest. Okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. And then all of a sudden it's like, what the hell? I've manifested all this shit that's already happened in my life.
yeah,
Like we're all doing it all the time. And then
you
when you
just
have
don't
that
know
light
it.
bulb moment of like,
Yeah,
oh wow, okay, I've already been doing this.
yeah,
Okay, hold
yeah,
on. And then you can start tailoring it.
yeah,
Then you can start making it work for you,
right.
not against.
Yeah. I was just
So
gonna say, so sometimes you can look and see the things that you've kind
yes,
of yes, that were not so
yes,
great. So
yes,
yeah.
yep,
Well,
yep.
I just appreciate you so much. You have given me so many nuggets, and just in the short period of time that we've been friends. And I will tell you, I definitely pull on them. And, like, again, surrounding yourself with people who can help you with your mindset, and not be the people that, you know, take down your mindset. It's so
Yeah,
important. And I'm just so glad that you're You're in my
No.
circle of people.
Aw, same. I love you so much, friend. So
Yes,
grateful
me
for you.
too.